Response video 2 and the Kantavad. He's talking on the subject of value again. Basically just saying that it's not answerable questions, that we can't do the value math. We can't really figure out anything. And, pessimism, optimism, who knows, blah, 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 blah. It's all just vagary. And I guess I would like to just say there's some direct points being made here about the nature of value.
Interesting question.
And what would be nice is if you would address those direct points and say, okay, this is where I fall off the reality map. Okay, so yeah, I'm still working on the reality map. It's really simple, really, right? No intelligent design, replication for the sake of replication, gladiator war. Those things are getting you right to zero-sum failure. But obviously this little last bit gets a little more complicated, this whole psychology crap. And so anyway, on value, what's being proposed is there is an absolute value. And that the first cause of value is in the sentient creature. So in having a sentient experience, I create value, moment to moment. Every sentient life form on Earth is creating value in having experience. Every minute, every millisecond, they're having sentient experience. They're either in a good state or a bad state. You can put them in one of those two categories. And yes, there's lots of states that are right down the line and all that stuff, but that's not really what we're talking about. But they can be established that something is, their welfare is satisfactory or unsatisfactory by some kind of reasonable standard of, we know torture is no fun, and we also know you don't have to be a king in a palace having a perfect experience to be not in a horrible condition. So anyway, but yeah, the idea is that sentient creatures create value. If sentient creatures didn't exist in the universe, there would be no consequential value in the universe. There couldn't be. Nothing could mean anything. All meaning is created by the fact that a sentient will be implicated. All crime is valuable because sentients are going to be put in lesser or better states. All equations about what we'll invest in as a society is based on the fact that somehow lives will be improved, that the state, the welfare of human beings or animals will be improved. It is the core, it is the foundation, it is the quanta that creates all the matter. All the mattering of mattering is created by the quanta of value that's created by a sentient organism having experience. So that's absolute value. Okay, that's the first cause of value, is an actual sensation taking place inside something. Now we're value creators as sentients, and we're basically viewing other, there's a bunch of other sentients with value creators in our world. And now sometimes we look at things happening in that world, and we see things that are making their lives better or worse or something else, and we say that thing has value. And then we say sometimes things have value because we have a personal desire. Now the difference is one way we evaluate is to see, or to judge what we're seeing in terms of how the other things are being implicated, and the other kind of value is I want, I need. And so we want to improve our own state of being, and so that we project the value on the thing and think the thing is going to give us this satisfaction. But a projected value would be all the things that we put value on as individuals. And when we do it not rationally, right? I mean, the desires, the conditioned desires, the preferences, the food preferences, all the other, what we like aesthetically, all those are just projections of value that have nothing to do with the actual world's value equation. They just have to do with our welfare, how we feel about it, how it affects us, what value is created in us when that circumstance exists. But that's very different than doing a serious evaluation about what's the real value of the thing. So one could argue, like sports, If one did a rational value equation, they'd say sports is stupid, right? But somebody can be addicted to sports, and so they think sports is okay. Gambling. Rational evaluation says human beings shouldn't go anywhere near this, okay? They're just getting ripped off. More losers than winners. Fuck that. Stupid. Right? That's the rational equation. More horror imposed. Families ruined, all kinds of horror imposed because of this stupid game. You can find some other game to play. Rationally, it's obvious that it's worthless. It's crap. It's shit. Yet people can be personally addicted to it. Personally find it very valuable because they enjoy it. Because they derive their pleasure through it. So anyway, the point is that the actual value is in something feeling. Okay, so when you're looking at a scene of a rabbit being run over in the street, you make a value equation saying, well, that's no good. That person should have drive more carefully. They were going too damn fast. You can make a judgment about how this is a negative circumstance, a bad circumstance. Now, rationally, I don't think there's any way to make that a good circumstance. There's no reinterpretation that would make it a good thing that the rabbit got run over, that the rabbit's in suffering in the street with its guts hanging out. There's no rational way to make that a good thing. Unless you say, well, the rabbit's rabid, but you'd still say that's not the proper way to kill a rabbit. Anyway, don't we get too lost in all the little bits of this, silly nuances. It's getting hot in here. Yeah, I'm really getting hot. I shouldn't be this hot. Maybe I still am running a fever. Anyway, man. Gee, that's better. Yeah, so I'm sorry. Yeah, still Lyme disease. Still, I feel somewhat better, but yeah, maybe I'm not quite there yet. So where was I? How is this? Oh, I'm stepping on it with the fucking board here. My mistake. Hitting the space bar with my value map. So anyway, yeah. So look, just tell me. Do you either get it or you don't get it? Do you understand that sentient creatures having experience is where value is created? Like diamonds have no real value. They only have value because they make human beings either feel good or bad. Either the human being is being abused and a mile down in the ground, having to dig the shit out of the ground, or there's human beings saying, look how wonderful I am because I have a ring that has a diamond on it and therefore I mean something, and they're all pleased with themselves. So we have the things that make a diamond valuable are the things that went into its creation, the sentience that were implicated by its creation. It really doesn't have anything to do with diamond, it just has to do with the effect of diamond on sentient creatures. So we're always going to calculate value by calculating how does it affect sentient creatures in the end. And yes, doing the in the end math is sometimes really complicated because you can't tell whether whether in all the permutations this was the best result you could hope for. I mean, you could mix ingredients and come up with a cake that's kind of crappy and shitty, but maybe if you mix that same recipe together 1,000 times, it'd come out worse every other time. And so even though the shitty result was shitty, it was the best of the shit, so it was the best possible result, and you should have praised it rather than put it in the failure category, because it was the best you could have done. And those are impossible assessments to make, but we do know a ton of probabilities. We can make general statements about what's likely to be true and what's likely to be the end result, and it's just silly to say we can't know any of that shit, because we can know. We can know that drinking and driving is a bad idea. We can know that rape is a bad idea. We can know, again, having children we can say is a bad idea. There's a probabilistic outcome here where you're going to not only, even if your kid comes out reasonably well, he's still going to be in, the average death is no fun. There's going to be likelihoods of all kinds of suffering endured, and the benefit is vacuous in the sense that it's just a bunch of satisfied hungers. And if you didn't create the hungers in the first place, you wouldn't. There would be no need to have them. So again, it's all for a non-necessary purpose. So again, I'd go, you know what, you don't understand the analogy here? So I mean, I've used the analogy. It seems pretty clear that if you're not on a rescue mission, if you're not saving somebody in distress, you really don't have a right to make victims, right? I mean, you can race to a fire because there's an urgency, there's a justification, but you can't race to go buy some cupcakes because they make you happy. You know, speeding for the purpose of a pleasure and speeding for the purpose to rescue something are two different missions, and they have different standards of perfection. You've almost got to be perfect in your behavior, in your conduct, if you're going to speed to get a cupcake. But you don't have to be quite as perfect in outcomes if you're speeding to rescue. You can understand that, right? It's a serious question, okay? It's not a rhetorical question. You get that, don't you? I mean, you can understand that, can't you? The distinction. So, I mean, whatever the value weight of humans satisfying arbitrary desires, and they are all arbitrary, they're all just hungers, motivated, created out of their conditioning, it doesn't create a justification for very much failure. You've got to play that kind of game, that kind of chase game, nearly perfect to justify playing it. You can't make victims to gain something that doesn't really need to exist. Where the rescuing of somebody in distress needs to get done. These are two different things. You don't need to satisfy an unnecessary need. You do need to satisfy a need that exists. So anyway, I'm a little off the basic subject, but look, absolute value versus projected value. And the projections of value become value statements in themselves. If your appearance makes me nauseous, that's a reaction that happens inside of me. It's a projection, yes, but the fact is my negative state now creates value. So now I've created a new piece of value to be put on whatever you are as a value. So the statement is irrelevant. I mean, there's a truth about whether you're happy or sad. How I react to it is another action, and creates another value state. Another value quanta is created by my reaction. But my reaction doesn't change your value state. It doesn't change the meaning of it. What I think or what I feel doesn't define what you are and what state you're in. And so that's the truth of this. The math is fixed, and it's only our interpretation that is flawed. And the simple argument being made here is that most of this math can be done without flaw. We can understand the difference between Holocaust and pudding eating contest. We can put things in broad categories, and we can put things in broad categories of probability. You know, we can know things that are likely to be true and things that are unlikely to be true, things that are worth investing in and things that are not worth investing in. And there's no point in saying it's impossible, or we can't do it, or we can't figure it out. We can figure it out. You just have to want to. So anyway, and my obvious point is, I don't think you people want to. You don't want to deal with the truth. You want to pretend you can make it up. And that's just bullshit. It's there to be dissected and described, not invented. Okay? That's the truth of it. There is, like I said, it's not that complicated. We have the sensations. We know what they are. They fall in the category of, I'd rather not do that, and yeah, that one's okay. And we know that. And that's what creates all value in the universe. Well, yeah, enough. So anyway, gotta work on this stuff some more. But I like this idea, this map idea. Because there's no way, like, religion won't get you anywhere. That's going to go way out over here into, unicorn land, and, it's really just, our existence is, this is 90% of the game right here. Evolution. It's evolution, baby. I mean, it's right there. And you just don't want to smell that truth. But it says it all. We are bacteria with brains. We're just little machines that have been contrived to play an insidiously stupid game by a force that has no ability to recognize how stupid the game is it made. It's just a dumb force. It can't say, oh man, sorry, I didn't mean to do that. I mean, it farts and you've got to smell it. But it didn't mean it. It didn't even know what a fart is. But yeah, that's what it is. And we, as the sensible, rational things, we can apply the judgment. And we can say, oh, gee, that was a mistake. Yeah, let's cork that hole. Not complicated.